How you doing, everybody? Thanks for stopping by and joining us today for another Rollin' Over the Hill on the Live to Roll channel. Today's special guest is our friend Surab. We'll be introducing him shortly, and we'll be discussing going to the doctor, and of course, whatever else pops up in the discussion. So please make sure to make sure you include your questions and views in the chat. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident back in 1974. Before we get started, let me welcome my co-host, Bobby. What's going on?
Hey, thanks a lot, Robert. You got a little bit of the Colonel Sanders starting to come in today with your mustache, and this is a little longer than usual. So
Yep.
I just
It's
Yep.
good,
just
man.
recognized that, like it's like you're Colonel Sanders.
Yeah,
What's
doing
up,
great.
everyone? I'm Bobby Rohan. I'm C56 quad, 30 some 5 years, 4 years, and from a bicycle accident. I'm glad to join everyone here live. And not last but least, our good friend Sarab. You might always see him in our chat. He's Hot Wheels or Devil Wheels or some kind of wheels. But Sarab, welcome, bud.
I got all the wheels, man. How's it going,
Yeah.
everybody? My name is Surab Zarifi. I am T4 to T7 and beyond, I guess. Injured for 30 years. And yeah, take it away, Robert.
All right. So today, like I said, we're going to be discussing going to the doctor, and we all have those experiences, good and bad. Some of us, like for me, I go every 3 months for a doctor's appointments for a couple doctors, my specialist and my primary blood work, the whole thing, keeping an eye on my body. I do take medication, so they kind of watch my kidneys and things like that. But it just I never really had to go to the doctor before, but now as I hit a certain age, they really keep an eye on my system. What about you guys?
So I'm kind of in the same boat, Robert, but now a lot more frequent because of everything that I've gone through lately, and
Yeah.
so now I have to see a cardiologist every 2 months. So that's like get an EKG. Luckily, he is a great doctor, so I don't mind going over there, but it's still the hassle of going over there twice a month,
Yeah.
and then I got to see my spinal cord doctor. I see her twice a year, but it's great now because she does a video conference. So it's
Oh,
like,
that's
oh,
good. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't think ever once that I had a show or anything on my body that, that
Yeah.
it's mostly just all discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
And if it is, and if it is, when you have to go in person and things like that, right? I mean, you know
yeah,
what you need to push and what you can't.
yeah. And then I see, a urologist twice a year. Um, what else? The one doctor, pain management doctor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have to do that once a month. And luckily, I finally got a deal where 1 month they just give me a call, and then the next month I have to go in.
Yeah.
So, and then other little doctors here and there that might come up, but for the most part, that's it. But it's not like when I was in my 20s and my 30s. That's for sure. With the spinal cord, it was once in a great while I might go into my urologist, and that
Yeah.
was it.
I didn't
It
go
was
see
just,
I didn't see any doctors. I didn't need to.
yeah. And I saw a pulmonologist, so I have asthma, and the only time
Mhm.
it ever flares up is when I have a cold. So I saw him for a while, but
Mm.
every so often. How about you, Sir Rob?
For me, it's usually once a year for the main in checkup. And nothing crazy is going on.
What
Just
do you mean?
once a year.
What do you mean nothing crazy?
Oh, well, usually like a big surgery that's coming up or something
Yeah.
like that. Or like last year, for example, my shoulder was messed up, so the whole year I had to keep going to physical therapy, keep checking it on it, and making sure that I don't mess it up because shoulder is like our number one priority.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's a couple of priorities, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so a urologist 2 times a year. But for me, the special thing is I got wow, I forgot their name. It's a blood doctor. Um, they check they check for my blood clots
Oh,
because
Yeah.
I'm
not
on blood
infected.
thinner.
What, a
Not infected.
hematologist? Is that a hematologist?
Is it on hematologist? There you go. So hematologist, yeah, I see them like 4 times a year to make sure the medication's working good. I'm doing good. I haven't gained too much weight, lost too much weight. Just to make sure everything's good. That's it for me for doctors. Urologist 2 times, main doctor 1 time, and 4 time for hematology. Hematology is the favorite one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you kind of went, if you don't mind telling us, how you ended up in a chair, because you had to go through a lot when growing up, because you were injured young. Is that correct, Sir Rob?
Yes, I was injured at 5 years old, or 4 or 5. But I'm gonna go with 5. And Afghanistan and a civil war. I was just playing outside, and pretty much all of a sudden, just bam, I was in the sky. And at that moment in my head, like I was thinking, like, oh, I have never seen the top of that store. Like
Wow.
I didn't felt any pain or anything. Everything was numb. I hit the ground flat, like a jello, I guess, hitting the ground. And that was it. I woke up a couple of months, or God knows how long, uh, later from coma, and found out that I wasn't able to move anything from below here. And uh, slowly I've recovered over the years, but it was in Afghanistan. And yeah, there's a lot of funny stories I can share, but that's a brief for now.
Yeah.
I will be sharing a couple of how I recovered my limbs and everything, how I got my body shock. Because usually when people when we get injured, our body goes through shock for the first 2 years or 3 years. You know.
Yeah. Do you remember it though?
Oh yeah, that's a problem. See, I had to be blessed with having a good memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing and a curse because I remember exactly all the negative events of that moment and afterwards, and just escaping till I was in Pakistan because we had to transport myself. They had to transport me to Pakistan so I can get a couple more surgeries. And then when I came here at age 14, I got like 7 or 8 more surgeries.
Wow. So
Long
but
way, long way.
how was the
Yeah.
medical care at that time, from what you remember? Was it adequate? Was it good medical care, or
Well, it
you
was
know?
the war in Afghanistan. There was a full-on
Yeah.
war. So, medical. They did a emergency. My uncle dropped me on his shoulder, put me on the back of the bicycle as I was like shrapneled up from the blast, and I'm surprised I had so much blood in me because wow, I made it to the hospital with all the shrapnels on my body. They took out the shrapnels from my stomach, my back, my kidneys, and everything. But one of the big shrapnel was stuck in my spine. Apparently, it found it. The shrapnel found the house for itself, and it's
Yeah.
still there. It's still with me. I just
Oh
hope it
wow.
doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
But
You set off the little
um,
scanners when you go through
Yeah.
oh yeah, oh
them.
yeah. I'm like I can take anything from my buddies. Oh, you got something metal? Just give it to me. They're gonna let me go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it shows that you're a survivor. That's for sure. Going through all that, and you're here today talking with us. So I know we all have our stories, but Sarab, you are a survivor for sure.
Thank you, brother. We're all are. All of us will be. All of us have been through different kinds, but they're all equal, or even more, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have a question for you, Robert. Like myself, were you like myself, uh, in your 20s, in your 30s, and probably 40s, where you weren't checking in with the doctor quite as often. Like I wasn't even seeing my, a spinal cord doctor, and like 3 years later, I'm like, maybe I should make an appointment. And I do. And every time, and they're like, uh, you got to get in more often. I'm like, oh, okay. So were you like this, like that too?
Yeah, I think what it was for me is, I had a family doctor when I was younger before I got hurt. In fact, when I got hurt, he was kind of the one that took over and helped my parents, get me to the hospital from Riverside Memorial out to where I needed to in the South Bay and getting me into Rancho Los Amigos. So he was real instrumental in that. But after, I went first year, I had a few clinic appointments at Rancho where I would Rancho was the rehab center for those of you who don't know. And so I'd have clinic there. You'd go there and urology and all that kind of stuff. Then that kind of I was winding down with that. Kind of didn't go back. Never really had a doctor. Then I finally got one when I got married because my wife had insurance and all that kind of stuff. So so I became, so I had insurance. So I got a doctor, but I never went to see him. I mean, I didn't see a doctor for years and years. I think when I got transferred to Utah. I got a doctor there and started seeing a doctor regularly because I started having high blood pressure issues. But no, it's just probably within the last 10 years where I started seeing a doctor. I mean, doing a physical, doing a little bit more here and there, and now here I am. I have my primary, which is he's okay. He's not. I don't have a spinal cord doctor. He's learning from me, and I'm kind of helping him, and it's going pretty good because he does give me what I need, and he does listen to me. And I have a specialist for kidneys and things like that. Um, and then I just got a urologist. After all these years, I finally have a urologist because I was having my bladder issues, the UTI stuff, and that I only had to go see them one time, and all of a sudden everything's fine. They gave me a medication, and geez, I should have done that years ago because I've been battling throughout the last year. It's been getting worse. My UTIs back to back and all that, and that one is a medication that you turned me on to, Bobby, and I hit him up on that, and it's a miracle drug for me in terms of my UTIs. But
Yeah.
I always put the doctor off. I'm still sometimes, even though I do it, I don't, I had like for me, they're kind of watching the blood pressure. I have high blood pressure, worrying about my high blood pressure. It's one of those things. When you go and see the doctor, okay, oh man, when I get the lecture, that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. But I get first off, I still get that white coat syndrome. But it's just blood pressure is just, I don't eat like I should. But I mean, it's under control with medication. And I go on my spurts of trying to stay healthy, and then go on my spurts where I go,
Yeah.
I love the food and all the wrong kinds of food.
Oh yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
yeah.
We got in our chat Daryl, Roy, Grandma is in the house, Mama Conway is in the house, and Daryl was asking about that Eucora and asking if you were still taking it, and because he doesn't have not noticed a real benefit yet.
Yeah. When I started taking the Eucora, it was when I was starting to have all my issue with the UTI. I mean, I was on antibiotics, so I couldn't take the uh, the flush because I was doing the flush as well with Eucora. But I was having so many issues with whatever was going on with my UTIs. I stopped taking it once it ran out. I still take that flush though. I have the packet where you put it in some water, and I'll drink that every couple days or whatever. But I've been taking the cranberry pills. I started taking those. The UTI Health from I think it's Azo is the brand. But so I've been taking that. But I think the thing that's really been the kicker, Eucora, I didn't really give it a chance. It looked like it was working for me for a while, but then that UTI came back, and then it just stayed there. I'd go a couple days with a break, and then I'd be on antibiotics again. So the Eucora, unfortunately, I stopped because I didn't know if it was, doing anything for me after because I started taking that methenamine. But I tell you, that methenamine is whatever it's all about. That's what took it for me.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, and maybe Shawn in the background, if you want to write that into the chat for people, it's spelled METHENAMINE. And
Yeah.
it's an older medication. They used to use it a lot back when guys were coming home from uh,
How it is?
Vietnam. And what's that?
I typed it. Is that how it is?
Methenamine.
Continue on, Bobby.
Yeah, I was just looking at the way you were spelling it. Yeah, you got it. So
Yep.
um, it's an older medication, but it's not, they call it an antiseptic. So it's not an antibiotic. So it
Mm.
really protects your bladder. And ever since I started too, I've noticed that my UTIs are way, way less. And I take it twice a day, one in the morning, one at night. And Robert, you're taking it once a day?
Yeah, once at night I take it.
Mhm.
But like I said, it's worked wonders. But I also, I kind of, with the Euchorus, I kind of got in the habit with that. And so once I stopped taking it, I felt I needed to still take something. So that's why I'm doing those cranberry pills. And, um, there's no sugar involved in terms of those pills and all that. And I got to watch sugar too because of my blood sugar counts and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't want to turn anybody off Eucora because it just was a bad timing for me because I was already looking for. I wasn't reacting. I was reacting, not being proactive about it. Maybe if I would have been taking it before or whatever. So, but the methamphetamine is strictly prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these stuff. This is my opinion, by the way. Some of these medication might work for some people. Some might not work. So everybody's
Yeah,
unique. Always,
yeah,
we always say that normally.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Some people, they swear by Demonos. Some people, it,
yeah,
it it doesn't help, especially when it comes to the bladder. We're all, some antibiotics work better for others, and it really goes off with when you get that lab results and what it's resilient to. So that's what you really kind of go
yeah,
off.
yeah,
In the chat, Roy was saying that he doesn't have a spinal cord doctor close to him, and wondering, like if you can find out if that doctor does any video conference, because that has really made a difference for me. I see a couple doctors over the phone, and my primary doctor, I can do it. Like if I when I had COVID, I did an appointment like that, and it was great because then they sent away for the medication that Paxville or whatever it was called.
yeah.
So I got on that right away just by a video conference. Have you tried it yet, Robert or Sarab?
No, I haven't.
uh,
I
I
haven't.
haven't the video conference or the medication.
What's that?
Is the video conference for with your doctors. I have tried it,
Okay.
and I would think that it depends on your medical insurance, because I'm sure insurances will put rules on them where you have to see your patient at least one time in 1 year. This way, you can prescribe things to them even if they don't come to the office. You can at
Yeah,
least see them
Yeah.
through video, which is
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing also depends on your insurance. Because oh god, I was gonna get to you as your question, Roy. It goes with me as well, because I couldn't find a urologist for many many years, and I suffered from countless amount of UTIs. Every month I would get UTI, and then 2 months, for 2 months I would work out, get myself into shape, and I'm healthy, my energy's back, my immune system is good. Boom, another UTI. Boom, another UTI. And it just keeps coming back, and it would go sepsis, and all the hard work I did, it would be like for nothing. And then I would visit my doctor, the doctor in my local areas, the urologist, and they would be like, "Oh, just drink more water.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
take the
Well,
antibiotic
that's
and
a good
drink more
point.
water."
But then then you're constantly cathing, because you're drinking so much water.
I
So it's a
didn't have
trade-off.
cat.
Yeah.
They didn't. They gave me the catheters that broke down your skin, that was not hydrophilic,
Oh yeah.
that it was horrible because they didn't have the information of these catheters, these companies, and all this stuff. Then I finally found this doctor in Keck, USC. His name is Dr. Eugene Eugene Cradin. He is part of Rancho, and so he recommended me to go to Rancho, and boom, everything was amazing. Rancho got me hooked up on Hollister catheters. One of the I went through a couple of catheters, but it was amazing, and I'm still with them. But I have to drive like 60 miles away, which is not good.
Yeah, for you.
But, yeah.
I have a question for Daryl, if he can respond. I know he took the Eucora and he said he hasn't noticed any real benefits yet. I just was wondering if he's getting any UTIs while he's still taking that, because if he's not getting UTIs, I'd say that's a good start, because I think the methamphetamine, what it is it makes your urine a little more acidic too, so that kind of keeps your bladder a little more. I don't know if it kind of keeps it cleaner, or I don't know, because they never really gave me a reason why I was getting the UTIs. There was a bacteria in there, but if I kept taking the medications that they were saying that were
You
to
mean
fight it.
antibiotics? You mean antibiotics?
Yeah, the antibiotic, yeah. And it would come back a day and a half, 2 days later. So
Yeah.
I just was wondering if the Eucora, if he's actually not getting UTIs, and I'm not saying it's because of Eucora, because I know that Eucora has a little Dimanos in it and different other things in it. But yeah, no, it's like I said, I just started within the past year, and then really the last 6 months is when my UTIs just started getting really out of control. Oh, so Daryl's saying he's fighting an UTI. Yeah, see, that's yeah.
And I think sometimes a lot of that stuff, even for the methamphetamine, it helps by taking those stuff before you have the UTIs. It doesn't really help fight a UTI. So I think that's one thing to think about, because my doctor did say that. A urologist said, now, your medication, methamphetamine, isn't going to do anything for you if you have one right now. So and at the time I didn't have one, and so he said, good to go. And it seems like I have a lot less. When I do have a UTI, it doesn't make it any shorter or anything like that. Except for pounding the water as much as I can that day, and I have to worry about over water too, because my sodium gets low. And so I do Pedialyte to get that, carbohydrates,
Electrolytes.
Make sure I don't go too far down that direction. See, Roy had a question for the group. Has anybody built up a tolerance to certain antibiotics?
All of us here, I'm pretty sure.
Go ahead, Rob. What's going on?
So yes, I have built a tolerance to 3 antibiotics so far, from like 10 years of maybe UTIs. Before, my body would take care of it when I was a lot younger, in my early teens and 20s. But from a misuse of antibiotics from my previous doctors, I have some buildup. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry, I cut you off earlier.
No. I know. I just noticed in the chat. Is it CNY?
Michael. That's our Michael.
Okay, Michael. Okay, yeah. He says about he has the tests that come back positive with the bacteria and all that stuff, and that's what this urologist was telling me, because like I said, it's the first time I've had my own urologist, and he says, we're going to have bacteria because we catheterize. That's the whole thing. I mean, he goes, you're always going to have some type of bacteria or infection. It may not, like Micah said, it's not going to translate to a UTI, but it's always there. So that was new information for me.
Yeah, and I'm in that boat that what Roy was asking. Yeah, I have worn down some medications and a couple of the antibiotics for bladder, and I know it was by mismanagement. And here's one tip I'll give everyone: if you get an antibiotic. Levaquin was the one that I wiped out quick because what I did is they would give me a 10-day. By the fourth day, I'm feeling good, right? I'll stop taking it.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
I have a backup, then if I get another UTI, I can take it then. Well, what that did is I never finished the antibiotic to get rid of the UTI all the
Yeah.
way. So then, even though I might not get it for another 6 months where I felt like crap, but then once I got it, then I would take another 4 days of whatever I had left. And that built up that tolerance that way. And
Yeah.
so now I don't even deal with my urologist with UTIs. I deal with an infectious disease doctor. And the number one tip, and you and I were talking about this, Robert, the other day, I believe, when you were going through your bladder stuff. So now, just like what Michael was saying, you know, we're always going to test positive. Especially if you have a suprapuba and or capping a lot of
Yeah.
times per day, it's always going to show up something. So my infectious disease doctor says, "Okay, I see the numbers. How do you feel right now?" I'm like, "Not too bad. No shaky, no fever, no blah blah." Okay, we're not taking anything today. So unless it starts getting worse, keep drinking the water, uh, keep yourself hydrated, and let's see if we can fight it. And that's what we do now.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with mine. The methamphetamine, I got to take that all the time. That's he says it works like an antibiotic in a sense, but it's not an antibiotic. And so he goes, you take it daily, you take it, forever now. So anyway, I'm gonna stick with that. But I think it was kind of the same thing with my with the UTIs I was getting before, because Cipro has always worked for me, and I always have a supply there. So when I get the symptoms, I start taking it right away. And by the third dose, it was already clearing up. And back in the day, that's where I go, well, I don't need to take it anymore. I was kind of doing the same thing you were doing, and you always had some left over, but yeah, after a while, the bacteria that I was getting, Cipro wasn't able to fight it, so they put me on some other stuff, and that wasn't doing it. Then they tried another one, and for me, antibiotics just beat me up, my stomach, and just you name it. And
Oh yeah,
you
Cyprus usually
yeah, you don't want to
Cipro.
do anything, yeah, because your stomach's all jacked up all of a sudden, and so I don't know, but I'm knock on wood, it's working good for me right now. And like I said, I took some tests last week for my kidneys and bladder, and now I just got to get a little blood work for the prostate thing, and then I go see the urologist, and I'll see what he sees. But he says, yeah, he didn't want to. He goes, don't take antibiotics if you don't have a fever and the systemic symptoms or whatever it is. The cloudiness. He's not worried about the cloudiness in the urine. He says that I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
So, so
Even my infectious disease doctor said it's typically normal to have cloudiness in the morning, and
yeah,
I think that's
Oh
when we all
yeah.
know probably at the worst. He said actually he called it something. I should write it down. And next time I see him, I'm going to ask him about it so I can let you guys know what that medical term was. But he says no. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less. And in fact, one thing that he recommended, and I'm actually doing really good on it, is I drink a lot until a certain time of day. He says around 5, you should really be tapering down to almost nothing.
hmm
And then I'm just noticing, when I wake up in the morning, and I hook up to a night bag all night,
hmm
and I notice it's halfway full, and I'm like, wow, that is just crazy that I taper down at a certain time, and I'm still going throughout my whole sleep.
yeah, yeah. Because I don't I will cath right before I kind of done for the night, and I don't go anymore till I wake up in the morning, and then my bladder holds a lot, so I can wake up in the middle of the night and drink a little bit of water. I have water next to me on my nightstand, but I have to have water during the night because my mouth, some of the medications just dry my mouth out. It's
Mhm.
like a desert, and so. But yeah, so it's kind of I got the system down now with in terms of cathing, but that's why I'm real conscious of how much water I drink. I do drink a lot of water, but I have my cathing, you know, I know when I have to go, so I kind of wait for that, and then it's usually pretty good void.
Yeah.
Going back to your general care doctor, it
Yeah,
is so nice to find a general care doctor that knows that you get UTIs regularly,
Yeah.
and they don't have to make you go through the test like and wait for 2 weeks or 3
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
And by
Exactly.
that time, UTI is gone. You already got the antibiotics from ER and everything, and it's done.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's really nice to have some doctor working with you to trust you enough to basically say, "Oh, you sure you got it? What are the symptoms?"
Yeah.
And to move forward faster so you can beat it.
Yeah. What's
Uh,
Well,
nice that they listen to you. That
um,
us as a patient, we know what we're talking about in terms of our situation.
mm,
yeah, and
uh,
actually, that's a great point, Sarab.
mm.
There's another direction for that too, and that's using patient portals. So some
Oh
doctors
yeah.
are great about this new patient portal. Not really new, but it's starting to really make traction of how to communicate with your doctor a lot quicker and to ask questions. And so ask your doctor and your care team about the patient do you respond fast? I have a primary doctor. I mean, all I do is see him for uh, blood pressure, just the general checkup. And then I have the spinal cord doctor, and then I have the urologist and infectious disease and a pulmonary. But yeah, I know everybody's yelling at me, Roy. And Mama, I know. Take it to the end. I know now. Where were you 30 years ago? Okay. Yes, I know.
30
I do
years ago, it
now.
was a different mindset, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean,
I
that
do
that
now.
that should have been the norm back then too.
In fact, the last time I was on IV antibiotic, and I know it so well now that the nurse called me and she said, "Oh, I got orders to pull your midline out," and I said, "Well," and she goes, "I can be there in an hour." And I'm like, "Well, I have one more dose of my IV, and I don't do that until tonight." She goes, "Oh, then I'll be there tomorrow morning." And my wife goes, "Well, what's one missing one, um, IV antibiotic treatment?" I said, "I'm taking it to the end because I learned the hard way." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but what I was talking about with the patient portal, it is out there and some to use. Luckily, I got relationships that I won't have to use it as much. But I know, like Robert and I, when we worked at Rancho Los Amigos, and that's where Sarab gets a lot of his. Um, that's where we really push on the patient portal because it's hard to get an appointment there. And so, Rob, you can contest by that. And so
Mhm.
we really push that patient portal. So ask your doctor, do you respond to it? Should I use it?
So the thing is like what Bobby's saying is very good information, because I actually am a example of that. Whenever I don't feel well, I feel like UTI is coming up, I contact my patient portal. My doctor in the morning or their staff will immediately respond to me. They'll send a test, and I'll go get the test, and they'll have the test by if I go in the morning, they'll have it uh, at like later day, or
Yeah.
next day they'll have it, and they'll tell me, hey, it looks like yeah, you gotta pop into the ER, or go or come get an emergency appointment. Appointments are a little bit longer, but they will tell me at least I can. You have something wrong, you should go check it. That, or I can judge it by myself from over the years. I wouldn't recommend this, but let's say if I take all my tests, like oh, is my glucose high, is my sugar, am I doing good, my health is good, so all the blood tests I can check on the portal, which is nice, because then I don't have to go to some like office or workout area, and they have to do my physical exam and everything, so before workout. So this is
Yeah,
nice. Portals, love it.
yeah,
Portals
and
are
that's
so nice.
that is also what's great about the portal. I mean, and I two of my doctors use the same one. It's called My Chart. It's a pretty popular one, but it's great to see your results. And my wife worked in medical field for a long time, so she knows what most of these numbers mean. I'm like, why is it in the red? And she's like, oh, that one you don't even have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's not too many like that, but it is nice to see your numbers sometimes even before the doctor, and kind of, and then when you have that portal number two, and I don't know if this is for everybody, but a lot of the um, urology places are um, urology supply companies. If you need more catheters, you got to have two documented two UTIs each year. So instead of trying to get it from the office, you just go to the portal and print it out for them.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna bring up as well. That whenever you're visiting to your doctor, a new doctor, and they were like, okay, do this, that, this test, this, that test. You got to come back 6 months later for your next appointment. Oh, you can just have your recent test status. At least I'm sure some place might accept like 6 months, 3 months, and if you have it on your portal, you can just give it to them as
Yeah.
long as
Yeah.
they're connected to your hospital.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. How do you guys go about finding another doctor or a new doctor? Um, and I'm not saying replacing a doctor, but when it's something that you need to find a doctor, other than word of mouth and stuff, what methods do you look to find a doctor that, especially in our case with the spinal cord injury, most of them don't know. And I was kind of lucky that I have a doctor that at least listens to me,
Yeah.
and will send me to a specialist or whatever if I need it. But because that's kind of hard for us because I don't have a spinal cord doctor. I'd like to, but you know, how do you find them?
Well, luckily we live in Southern California, and a lot of them go to either a lot of them go through the USC
Hmm.
program. And so I've ran into a few doctors over here that I'm like, do you know anything about spinal cord? And they're like, oh yeah, I had to work on the floor of such and such, so I know about suprapubic. And it's like, oh, okay, great. One time I was getting my back looked at when I had a real bad back pain, and just in his office, I saw that he worked at Rancho. So
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
these doctors worked at Rancho. So I think a lot of it has to deal with word of mouth, and then seeing if you like them. I had a good urologist for many years, and she retired.
yeah,
And so I said, my infectious disease doctor uses this other one, which his office was right next door too. So it was funny, two urologists side by side. But so I went over to him, and I was like, okay, and um, saw him during COVID. He wouldn't wear a mask, and he's like, "Oh, those things are dumb. You don't have to wear that in here." And I'm like, "What?" And then he also made me. I was the first appointment of the day. I still had to wait an hour before I saw him.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
"No, you're not for me." So I mean, it's trial and error, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. It does help if you're part of a couple support groups or uh, communities that have similar, injuries like yourself. That will help. Usually they'll be like, "Oh, I go to this doctor or that doctor or
yeah,
this doctor,"
yeah,
or you can name the doctor that you have, and they might know him or they might not know her. You know what I mean? So it's good to have support groups. Definitely, I would
Yeah.
recommend that.
Well, I tell you, I know for me, when I was working, I always had like Blue Cross or Blue Shield, whatever it was, and I needed some recommendation or referral, and they couldn't find one in my area, and so I sent a letter to them. So if I can please go to Rancho Los Amigos and consider it as in network, blah blah this. So I was figuring they weren't going to do it, and because I told them that I needed to see some type of specialist, and there's plenty there and all that. Long story short, they approved it, and so for a while there, I was able to go to Rancho, and especially when I started to have issues with my shoulders, and it all kind of the timing kind of worked good. So that was a positive for that, but I don't know if that was just one of those things where I lucked out, when I filed for the type of grievance thing or whatever it is, because it worked out, and like I said, I don't mind going to Rancho. I love going there if I have to because I feel comfortable with them knowing what they're doing in terms of the doctor I had when I was at Rancho the last time I went was Doctor was it Lee? I forget her name. She was in a wheelchair, and I think she's at St.
Oh,
Jude's. Was it Doctor
oh
Lee?
no, No, oh, that's gonna kill me. I'll think of it, Robert. But
Yeah, okay, but anyway,
no,
so and then when she came in, I was so happy. I go, yes, somebody you don't have to explain stuff to you. You know, she wrote me up what I needed about. You know, she was the one that got recommended that I get the a lightweight wheelchair. You know, because I was still doing the aluminum and all that kind of stuff. For me, was just getting here. She says you need to start taking care of your shoulders, or because I think it was already damaged then. But that was the first one. That was the first documentation of it. And yeah, she's the one that got me into that and got me a link to. What's the precision rehab in Long Beach? I went there.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
over there where Christy works, which are
yeah,
the best outpatient rehab if you're at spinal cord because they
yeah,
have a
they were good.
seating clinic
Yeah,
there, and so yeah, they are.
yeah. So I went to see her, and then they did the eval, and then they turned me on to mobility professionals, and I went and got my chair through them, and that's how I got linked to Dean and mobility. Well, you know, I didn't know him at the time until I started coming to support groups, and
Yeah,
it was all worked out pretty good. But I really was comfortable with Rancho, and like I said, I have three doctors right now, and one of them, you know, I just got. So
yeah.
but I do
And
stick. I'm very strict. I keep to my appointments. I keep to what they tell me, what they think, what they expect of me, and all that. I do that. I kind of don't take care of myself and other things, but for that, I do take serious.
yeah, and I think that's part of age,
Yeah,
and how I said, oh, I didn't take the full antibiotics. I
yeah,
think the older we get, the more we know how valuable our
yeah.
doctors
Exactly.
are, and
Common, common
and
sense.
and responsibility comes with that um, to listen to them. And we might not. I forget who asked it. Do we question our doctors? I try. I try. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to sound, condescending here, but do you really know what that means to me? Like when I talk to my pain management doctor, and and I'm like, look at the charts out, everything you have tried for me, they didn't work. You remember? And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, we'll continue with what. I'm like, this works for me, and they want to try to change it. But look at your chart, please, and tell
Yeah,
me. And
yeah,
my wife does this, my wife's not a spinal cord, but her doctor gets on her case about her sodium. She goes, look at my chart. My sodium's always been like this. And he went back 10 years. And he goes, man, you're right. She goes, go back 15. And he goes, oh yeah, you're right. So yeah, question your doctors. But I think now we find the importance of, how it has to work for us because, you know, the older we get, the more we have to get our bodies checked up on.
yeah, yeah.
100%,
And,
100%.
and you got to
For
make
like,
sure that you question the doctor, that you're respectful because a lot of these doctors don't want to be questioned. I mean, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, you got to your approach has to be diplomacy and respect, but you still question them. You know, hey, well, what about
Yeah,
this? Or I heard this. You're not doubting him. It's just that you're trying to
yes,
hone in on understanding. So
yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the thing is, they probably see a lot of patients, insane amount of patients that there's in in their hospital, and they not so they have to break down their time of how much they have to spend on this patient. And when somebody talks a lot and it doesn't make sense to them, like, oh, it doesn't click the check mark, wow,
yeah,
and it gets annoying.
yeah,
uh, I'm remembering all the horrible experiences I had, so I'm very blessed and lucky to be in this position right now to have my HMO medical and still have a good doctor because
yeah,
that's really hard to do. It's really hard for HMO medical to get catheters, proper doctors, because they drop you off. A lot of doctors won't accept it. A lot of
yeah,
doctors
yeah,
will accept, better insurances. So that's one. Another thing I was gonna ask. Wow, my brain just died. Oh, I was gonna. It was an important one too. Oh yeah, be
yeah,
on top of it. Be on top of. If you're trying to get your, let's say the doctor will be like, okay, we did your lab results. You gotta wait 1 week. You gotta call them in 1 week to make sure that they don't
yeah,
forget it, because most of
yeah.
the time these offices will forget. They will 100% forget most of
Or
the time.
they don't know the importance of you waiting for to find out because you're ready to, you got
Mhm.
that pill holding on to it if you should start taking it or
Yeah,
not. But I just don't like waiting for,
I mean, you are 100% correct, Sarab, and it seems like in support groups I hear like I don't know what we ask our other guys like what's going on. I'm like I don't know. They haven't called, and it's like call,
yeah,
call them,
Mhm.
man. You got it. You're the patient. They have so many patients, so it's they're not thinking of you. You are thinking of you. So call, get those results as fast as you can. And you also brought up another great point about our insurances. And
Mhm.
sometimes, in this day and age, everything is dictated by our insurance a lot of times,
Exactly.
unless you have some really good insurance where you have a license to go anywhere, but not all the time anymore. And especially if you're a Rancho patient, you and I have this discussion, Sarab. You're like,
Mhm.
yeah, I can get in for what, another three months, and
yeah,
it's like, what? So
Yeah. The thing is, one major point is, so when I say be on time on your like be on top of it, what I mean is basically, okay, let's say you want catheters. You're not gonna get the catheters that's gonna help you, but you can't give up on that. You gotta go after it, find a different supplier, find a different supplier. They might accept it. They might accept your order or your medical. There is a lot of what is it called, companies that they might not accept your insurance, but some, maybe one out of 10 will, which happened to me. And but thanks God, Rancho doctors are very supportive on writing up the letter every time I requested it for this catheter supplier. And most of the time, the catheter suppliers, they forgot my what is it called, my order, if
yeah,
I was accepted or not. So I worked with my doctor. I worked my medical case manager. Most of your medical will have like case managers that if you're having a hard time getting a doctor's appointment, equipment, catheters, you know what I mean? Like you can talk to your insurance and they will go on the door of the doctor and they will knock. Hey, what's going on with
yeah,
my patient? You helping him
yeah,
or not?
yeah. Now,
It's,
what about how do you guys feel about, because I know some of these doctors, you call in, try and make an appointment, you can't even see them until 3 months or whatever, but they have a nurse practitioner that you can see the following week. How do you guys feel about the nurse practitioners? Because I know there's some that I've dealt with that are, it's good, fine with me. I mean, if they're giving me the same thing, and if they do have anything going on that they need to know, they will communicate with the doctor. But I don't mind a nurse practitioner or whatever, long, and once you meet them, how you feel about that, and I'm okay with that. What about you guys?
Bobby?
same, Robert.
Yeah,
As long as I get in, so that I can get the ball rolling. So if that
yeah,
means,
exactly.
if they're like, well, yeah, we should really discuss this with, my boss, or
Yeah,
however they, word it, and then I'm fine. But as long as I get in and get it taken care of,
yeah, and
quicker
get
the
it
better.
documented and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd say, you know, they have to, because of the way it works in their office, they have to discuss it with the doctor. So
Yeah, yeah. So I like I say, I'm good with that. I'm comfortable. Sometimes I prefer that because you just get in quicker, you can get a hold of them easier, and just it's
That is
good.
true, 100%.
Yeah,
For me, it depends. It depends for me because uh, okay, let's say I am from part of Rancho, and so they have doctors who are well with people in our injury. But let's say if you're in a different office and they got nurse practitioners, but first meeting you see your nurse practitioner, second time you see it's a different person,
oh yeah,
then you got to start from the first ball, and guess what, they're
yeah,
going to give them different information to the doctor, and that
yeah,
happens a lot. So it's much better if you're not getting on your first second try. I would advise always go straight for the doctor if that
yeah,
office is not getting on your first and second try, but always give your first and second try, always,
yeah,
because
that happened to me, Rob, where I she comes in and it was a new one, she started asking me. She was like, "Now start from the beginning," and I'm like, "Did you read the notes? Look at those notes." I said,
Yeah,
Did you not read before you come in? Into the office? So
yeah,
okay, here we
yeah.
go. And
Sometimes.
she's like, "Don't tell me how to do my job." And I was just like, "All right, we're not
So
seeing you anymore." So,
Yeah, yeah. I always just go in there with my pre-printed list of all my meds and any, the little history of like surgeries or anything like that. Here you go. I just have that
I'm
because it's easier to give it to them than fill out all that paperwork.
exactly. Yeah, I'm laughing because we all have been through this. A lot of us who are in wheelchair, quadriplegic, paraplegic, cerebral palsy, and the ones that are missing, I'm sorry, my vocabulary is low. We have been through all of this, and we go through all this. Like Bobby said, I would print everything, take it to the office, and I'll
Yeah,
have my speech ready too. I'll
yeah,
have my essay on my mind, just waiting, and I do both of them. And she's like, "Okay, let's go back to number one."
yeah,
and that's
Or
really,
he.
you hit on a mark that we've talked about before. But right, between doctor's appointments, we can't remember everything. So start writing
Mm.
these questions down, because if you're like me, I get in there sometimes and I'm like, shit, I know I had, oh, what is it? Yeah,
Well,
just there's been a pain here, and that's it. And then I
and
get
then
home, and of course, the wife's gonna go, "Did you ask him about this and this and this?" And it's like, oh,
exactly. Well, that's
all
exactly.
right, man.
Oh man, I didn't say this. I didn't say that. And, there's things that you forget. Just
Yeah, and so what I started using a lot. I love my Apple Watch, and I've talked about it. But in the on the Apple phone, there's a health app that comes with Apple, and I mean, the more I explore it, the better you can use it. But just yesterday, I started putting every medication I take, the milligrams, so I won't have that problem. And also, if I was ever in the ER and not responsive, they can get access to that health app
yeah,
through your phone. And like I put in my blood pressure there every time I take it, because I get my heart rate's always there, my EKG, and it can show doctors, it can show your medication. It's just amazing what it can do.
A funny joke in my head popped in. Give it 2 years, and your Apple Watch will have an AI in it, and all of a sudden you drop on the ground. ER comes in, like, what happened to him? The watch will be like, hey, can't you see he's down? Help him.
Or it's so your Apple Watch is so good that next thing you know, it's like you have your pharmacy calls and says you have a prescription ready for your UTI. I'm like, I do.
Alexa reminds you while you're watching TV, man.
Yeah. So we have
um,
Steve's in the house. Welcome, Steve. Doctor is concerned about sodium being low at 133. Yeah, that's where I am, Steve. Anywhere from 130 to 133. I drink too much water to prevent UTIs. I'm drinking more Gatorade Zero to get my that way up. Steve, so the one thing that my doctor said is try to reduce the free water. And I'm a sicko. I love just natural taste water. I like drinking it. I don't need any flavoring it to it. And but I'm not a big I don't like the taste of Gatorade. Never been a big fan. But I use you can get it on Amazon, Liquid IV.
oh yeah, the
Or
small packs.
yeah, so you can get it on Amazon. Liquid IV has all the electrolytes, the sodium. I'm not too thrilled about Pedialyte, but that's way better than Gatorade. And the Pedialyte, I do add more water because it is pretty heavy tasting, but you can get a lot of that electrolytes back as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we tend to have low sodium for us who drink a lot of water. It's a common thing. I find it all the time. Once in a while, if I feel like I'm getting running down low, And when I say low, I'm like, I think my sodium's at 128. I have a guy that I have to pay cash, and it's not cheap, but 125 to get an IV bag. But
Yeah.
man, does that it feels good.
I've never tried. I'm scared of needles. Even though I have been through like 100,000 needles so far.
I'm not scared. I'm like, bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah,
Come on.
that doesn't bother me.
Funny thing is, whenever they're poking me, as like my head becomes like titanium, I cannot move it. I must see what's going on.
I mean, I get to a point where, like, these last couple of months, the hospitals I had to go to, they check your blood every morning, and it's like sometimes 4:35 in the morning.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's
I
regular.
got to a point where I'm just like this.
They do that on purpose to make
When
you
you're
go
sleeping,
healthy so you can get out.
yeah, that's funny when
I'm
you're
like,
getting
"Thank you," and I'm
sleep.
like, thanks. And they're like, sorry if this is gonna poke, and I'm like, I never feel it. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
most of the people that take the blood and all that in the hospitals, they're pretty good. I mean, they know, they got it down. They do it so much because there's sometimes when you don't even feel it. You don't even know.
yeah, and it's all usually the type of needle. So,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's a really small, like I get it in the hand. There's one part of my hand I can feel it, and they say that's a pretty. They're like, really in the hand? I'm like, yeah, I can feel it, and they're like, usually people hate it that way. So,
yeah.
Oh, I don't like it. I'm not gonna name drop what kind of what the classification has to be, but yeah, I hate certain types of when they put it on your hand.
On
In the
your hand,
morning,
they're digging in there trying. And they're trying
yeah, for me, I got nothing. You can see there's only bones. Like,
to. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm a
I don't
hard
like
poke.
it. Yeah, I
Are
don't
you a
like it
hard poke?
in the hand because you're
yeah,
bending
I
and
am.
all that kind of stuff. Your hand, forget it, man. Just put it in
Well,
your little arm there.
I'm okay with this all the time, Robert. Then
Yeah. Oh
over
yes.
here is annoying. No,
They,
because
they,
when you're pushing, it's no
yeah.
point.
See, I get
Yeah,
it. Mine usually in my forearm. The top right in here, and that's where
yeah,
I got that pain there.
because
It's easy.
also the way I sleep, and a lot of us quads, we're
Yeah.
sleeping with our arm bent. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have
Yeah,
them
yeah.
like get to the side or somewhere down. I'm like, you're not putting it right there, and they're like, and I have one of the best vein. That's my only vein that's easy to access, and I'm like, it's not
Yeah.
gonna. I'm gonna ruin it right away for you. So don't do it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have good patience back in the day. I've been through a lot of horrible experience.
And
Now I'm just
depend on
grumpy
that
old
patient.
man. Now if
Yeah.
they miss it 2 times, I'm like, can you please get somebody from the lab?
Or let me do it. Here, let me do it.
Or, or now you ask, there's a certain light. It's an infrared light that they can see all the veins. Makes it
Oh
so much
yeah.
easier. So always
Oh,
ask, but a lot of
nice.
hospitals don't have it. I'm like, what?
Hmm.
They
Yeah,
should.
you're a
They
hospital.
should.
Um, well, I
That
know
definitely
we're
is.
about to wrap up, and Robert, I don't know if you want to talk about our sponsors and our
Sure.
upcoming shows.
Sure. Our sponsors are mobility professionals and urology professionals. Mobility professionals here in Southern California, they handle all your wheelchair and rehab and mobility needs. Great group of people, um, part of the community, support the community, and just good group of people. Urology professionals are a national company, and they'll deal with you no matter what part of the states you're in. So if you are interested, make sure you give them a call, see if they handle your insurances and all that. But dealing with people there is like you're part of the family there once you start getting involved there. And again, uh, Dean, who is mobility professionals, along with Don, go to a lot of the events. They're deans in our groups, support groups, but it's just a good group of people, and you won't be disappointed. So check them out: mobility professionals and urology professionals.
Yeah, and I
Hell yeah.
think Roy mentioned it earlier about finding doctors and or saying something about us as a support group, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's where you learn a lot of this, in your local support groups as well. We
yeah,
find doctors that way. I think when we were on last week. And this is for everybody. You can ask us and we'll get you the information. If you want a support group from home, but on Fridays at 10:30, you're always able to join us. We might be in Southern California, but if you want that support and ask questions, just like you do here, let us know and we'll send you the information and join us. And Shawn, myself, Robert, Sarab, we're all four of us are there almost every Friday. So let us know and we'll get you that information. Reach us by Instagram and we'd be happy to share it with you.
And
So
what
go
about,
ahead.
can you give an update on Luis so people don't think he disappeared on us?
Oh yeah, we didn't fire him already, but
Yeah.
Luis was traveling to out of town, so he wasn't able to join us today. Thanks, Robert. But he'll be here in 2 weeks, and don't forget to catch us next Tuesday. We were hoping to get cooking going, but a little surprise. But maybe mark your calendar. It's not 100% sure, but 4th of July is a Tuesday, so we might have a big barbecue here at my house and have the whole crew there. So catch us every Tuesday, and then mark your calendar for July 4th. Also, don't forget next week is our women's show. They are the first and third Thursday of every month. And as always, Wednesdays, Tom at his best, video gaming
We're going
uh,
strong.
with
Yeah.
Rob, except they're getting now their content taken down. No, but that was only because of music infringement, probably. But check them out every Wednesday, playing games, having a lot of fun out there. And then we're always second and fourth Tuesday of every month. So thanks a lot for everybody that joined us in the chat. And I know we said we were trying to do these shows for 45 minutes, but Rob, first time
Yes, sir.
here, been
Yes.
wanting to come. We want the hour for you, buddy.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me. It was awesome sharing my side of the story and everything. Sorry about my background. My window was open.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You
Thanks,
got a
Rob.
pretty,
It's always a
pretty
pleasure.
bed there.
The gaming channel, the gaming side. I do mostly gaming side, by the way, guys. I do gaming for pain relief, stress relief. Really helped me out over the years and a couple of my buddies. And that's a big community. If you guys want to get into it, you know where to find us.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
All right, everyone. Till next time. Hopefully, we'll see you
Take care,
Tuesday.
everybody.
But live to roll.
Yep. See ya.
Take care.